Google Assistant continues to best Siri, even with iOS 14 improvements. So there were some words with the launch or the event around iOS 14 that there were going to be Siri improvements, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you heard that. And there was obviously the difference in how Siri operates, which they showcase. It's a little bit less intrusive. A little icon down there, thinking, the little glowing Siri icon down there at the bottom of the smartphone. So no one really knew exactly what all these improvements were going to be, but this guy on YouTube, who it was later covered by 9 to 5 Google, what is his channel name? We got to give him a shout out because I watched almost all of this video. His channel name is In-Depth Tech Reviews. How about that for a name, Will? Very you're going to go in depth there. 13 minutes and 52 seconds on Siri in iOS 14 versus the new Google Assistant. Well, anyways, it's pretty predictable what happens. I think you can guess what happens in this video, Will. First of all, because of the fact that it was posted on 9 to 5 Google, Google Assistant crushes. It crushes Siri. And I can't say I'm surprised. I'm a Google Assistant user myself. I'm a big Google Assistant fan. And it just has a leg up on Siri for the time being. I know Apple has worked hard in an attempt to change that. And it's not a complete landslide. There are a couple moments in this video where Siri does some cool things, like read actual emails out. But Assistant is just flying in this video. It's, in most cases, it's almost twice as fast. It feels more fluid. And you can check it out for yourself to get a better idea of those differences. But I have to say, just in my experience, I've become increasingly an Assistant user, and almost in a quiet way, where I've just noticed that I'm using it more often. And I think a big part of that is speed. I think if you have to wait a little bit for the thing to happen and you feel somewhere in your mind that you could achieve the thing or do the task more quickly just by tapping around as you normally would, then you don't go back to the Assistant version again, because you just think, it's a bit slow. Mm-hmm. So those small differences do make a difference in your adoption pattern. And Google probably knows this, which is why they've worked so much on speed. And it looks like Apple still has some work to do, because there are many, many things that Siri can do that it just takes longer to do. And it asks more times, are you sure you want to do that exactly like that? And you say, yes. And it's that kind of stuff that's a turnoff. I don't know about you, Will, but that turns me right off.
Yeah, it does.
Are you a big Assistant guy?
I use it all the time for reminders.
You use it all the time?
Because I'm very forgetful.
Yeah. Well, one thing I also notice, and this is completely anecdotal, but there seems to be a sentiment just in the general public, out in the world, that just don't use Siri that much. Or even turn it off. I mean, it even lets you during the setup turn it off completely. And I have plenty of relatives who like iOS, use iPhones, and still won't boot up Siri. They'll be like, resistant to the idea of using Siri. For whatever reason, that brand just hasn't taken off maybe the way that Apple had hoped. And I mean, they're still digging their heels in, they're still going for it, but it certainly seems at this point that this is more Google's wheelhouse, the idea of a digital assistant. So we'll see where it maps out. I'm not saying that it can't change. I'm not saying there aren't things that Apple does well or better. It just feels like this one right here, that those Google engineers those data guys and girls, it's just, that's right. That's their focus.
Yeah.
Anyway. Check out the video. It's kind of interesting to see how the two assistants behave differently.